2025 Chery Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid Review. Buyers looking for an affordable 7-seat plug-in hybrid SUV are lacking options at the moment. But is this Chery Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid about to change all that? Likes, quality interior, big improvements in safety tech, lots of features for the money dislikes, no third-row top tethers, flush door handles aren't practical, infotainment system complicated to use. 2025 Chery Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid idea of a plug-in hybrid PHEV car is a compelling one for many Australian families shopping for a new large SUV, with sales up by more than 200% in the first half of this year. But price continues to be a key factor holding people back from handing over their hard-earned, which is no surprise given that the cheapest 7-seat PHEV currently available on the market starts at $57,990 drive away. It's the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV until now. Budget brand Chery has launched the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid PHEV, a version of its existing Tiggo 8 Pro Max SUV that arrived in 2024. But now with a plug-in hybrid powertrain dot with a sub $50,000 starting price that includes your on-road costs. Does the Chery have what it takes to pinch sales from more established players like Mitsubishi, Mazda, and Kia? I've driven it and its new 5-seat Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid sibling to find out. The Tiggo 8 has two variants, the entry-level Urban and top-spec Ultimate, with the range cut from 3 grades to 2 compared to the regular Tiggo 8. The range opens at $45,990 for the Urban and $49,990 for the Ultimate. All prices are drive away. The Urban grade in the Tiggo 8 features as standard a 10-point to 5-inch digital instrument cluster, a 15.6-inch infotainment screen, wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a wireless phone charger, a 10-speaker Sony sound system, synthetic leather seats, ambient lighting, a 6-way power-adjusted driver's seat, a 360-degree camera, and 19-inch alloy wheels. The Ultimate adds a panoramic sunroof, a powered tailgate, heated and ventilated front seats, electric adjustment for the front passenger, rear privacy glass, a head-up display, speakers in the driver's headrest, a massaging driver's seat, and illuminated scuff plates. The Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle and uses a 1.5-liter four-cylinder turbo petrol engine with a single electric motor and Chery's single-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. It's the same powertrain being offered in the new Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid 5-seat SUV. The 2.0-liter turbo petrol is swapped out from the Tiggo 8 Pro Max lineup. And it also goes without all-wheel drive. Only the front wheels are driven in this PHEV variant. Azure Blue is the one free standard paint option. You can also have Space Black and Lunar White, as well as Bamboo Gray and Aurora Green. As the premium, costed extras, its competitive pricing makes it the most affordable 7-seat. PLUG on sale today, with the Tiggo 8 up against the likes of the Mitsubishi Outlander, Kia Sorento, and Mazda CX-90 PHEVs. The Mitsubishi Outlander's pricing differs between its 5 variants, starting from $57, $990 for the entry-level East, and going up to $70 for $190 for the top-of-the-line GSR. The Kia Sorento GT Line PHEV is $91,241. drive away based on a Victorian postcode. So I'll say no more about that, as it's not likely to be on the same shopping list. Likewise, a Mazda CX-90 PHEV e-Touring will set you back $81,235 drive away. In terms of true competition, then, aside from Mitsubishi, BYD has a 7-seat plug-in hybrid coming next year in the form of the Celion 8, as does MG with its new QS. On the outside, the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid gets new LED headlights and taillights, bigger, redesigned wheels, and a new front grille, while inside, its interior has been revamped too. Flush door handles have been added to the exterior that flick out at one end when pushed, as seen on recent electric Kia cars such as the EV6 and F3. Although these look nice, in reality, they are impractical for parents trying to open the doors and hold a lot of things and help young children in at the same time. The 15.6-inch infotainment screen offers an excellent picture with an almost TV-like quality, but in reality is a bit tricky to use and isn't laid out in a way that is particularly logical. I kept losing track of where to find features, and there is no back button. So you just have to keep returning to the main menu to start again. I also don't like the way it and the 10-point to 5-inch instrument cluster are tacked onto the dash light. iPads or iPhones, almost like an afterthought. And the performance of the Sony sound system is a little thin for my liking. Like with the 12.3-inch unit in the related Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid, you have to be quite delicate and deliberate with your input, and can't poke a finger at it without looking, so it's tough to use while on the move. Unlike in the Tiggo 7, the heating and cooling controls are housed within the infotainment screen, a trend that is becoming frustratingly common. They are accessible via the main menu or quickly by tapping on the temperature or fan controls at the bottom of the screen. A highlight is the voice assistant. By using the words "Hello, Chery," you can ask it to perform basic tasks for you, such as altering the climate controls or opening and closing the sunroof blind in ultimate variants. The drive mode selector on the center console, through which you can put the car into Eco, Normal or Sport, is quite laggy. One real letdown, though, is the way you have to start the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid instead of a push button. The car is powered on by having your foot on the brake and putting it into gear via the shifter on the right indicator star. And it will only work if your seat belt is buckled. There's an off button within the infotainment screen as a backup, if needed. Too many car makers are starting to do this now, and it just feels like innovation for the sake of it. There's a lot to be said for just stepping into a car and immediately knowing how to start it and drive away. This is just complicated and unnecessary. The synthetic leather used in the Tiggo 8 is the same whether you go for the Urban or Ultimate, and feels nice and soft to the touch, as well as comfortable to sit in up front. There aren't any hard plastics. And the synthetic leather, combined with the ambient lighting and a subtle gray wood effect panel on the dash, give it a real touch of class. The Fox leather, unlike in the Tiggo 7, however, has more of an Alcantara feel to it, and seems like it wouldn't wear well over time, particularly if used by young families. The second row has the same quality materials, but the seats are more bench-like and are quite firm, which might not be ideal on long journeys. The rearview mirror also gets a fisheye effect that is just strange and actually quite uncomfortable to look at. The Tiggo 8 is a decent size, but the magnification makes it look longer, not really in a good way, though more like looking down a hall of mirrors. The Chery Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid is 4,724 millimeters long, 1,865 millimeters wide, 1,718 millimeters high, with a 2,694 millimeters wheelbase on it. The cabin, there are two cup holders, as well as room for slim bottles in the doors. And there is a USB port as well as one USB-C and a 12-volt socket. There's also a deep pin in the center console and a good-sized glove box too, as well as space underneath the center console. That is a good spot for stashing snacks, takeaway, or even a small handbag dot in the second row. There are a further two cup holders in the center armrest, with room in the doors for slim bottles and another USB and C. The rear windows are said to use privacy glass, but you can barely see it and wouldn't do much to stop light coming in and hurting kids' eyes. There's space in the two map pockets. On the back of the front seats for books, toys, and snacks, plus rear air vents for the air conditioning system too. I found I had excellent legroom behind my seating position, and more with the passenger seat further forward, and more than a hand's length above my head too. For reference, I'm about 167 centimeters tall. There are ISO-FIX anchors on the outboard seats, and 3 top tether points across the seat backs. Disappointingly, though, there is adequate room in the third row thanks to a sliding second row. There are no top tethers, so only children over 7 can sit there. Getting into the back is trickier, as a relatively low roof makes it easy to bang your head on the door frame. And the same happened in the front a couple of times as well. Chery hasn't yet quoted figures for the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid's boot capacity. But, for comparison, the petrol-powered Tiggo 8's boot offers 117L to the third row for 79L with the rearmost seats down and 739L with the second row folded flat. The second row also splits 60-40, while the third is 50-50. And there's another 12-volt socket in the boot as well. And it's easy to close as well thanks to a powered tailgate. For families with safety front of mind, the 7-seat SUV has an extensive equipment list. There's no difference between the urban and ultimate grades, except for the former getting a reverse camera, only versus the latter's 360-degree surround view monitor dot as standard. The Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid features hill descent control, hill, start assist control, electronic brake force distribution, front and rear parking sensors, forward collision warning, autonomous emergency braking, emergency lane keep assist, and lane departure warning and prevention. There's also traffic jam assist, blind spot detection, lane change assist, rear cross traffic alert and braking, front and rear collision warning, speed limit information function and control assist, and driver monitoring, to name but a few. The advanced driver assistance systems have been greatly improved with this updated car, as well as the Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid. The lane departure warning and lane keep assist just quietly chime in when needed and smoothly guide you back to the middle of the lane, rather than forcefully yanking you and sounding noisy alarms constantly as has previously been the case in other Chery models. The difference in the execution of the driver attention monitor was the most noticeable improvement. Last year, Drive tested the Tiggo 8 Pro Max, on which this Super Hybrid is based, and the alarms and visual warnings would go off if you even looked at the rear view mirror or checked your blind spot for a split second, let alone tried to find something within the infotainment screen. I drove it for a short time and remember being glad to quickly hand over the keys, because all the chastising made me incredibly anxious about what I could possibly be doing so wrong. I'm very pleased to say that at launch the feature was triggered. Only once or twice in several hours of driving, and only when looking at the infotainment screen for too long. And that's really a testament to how much Chery's engineers have worked hard to fine-tune it, to better respond to Australian roads and local driver behavior. The existing non-hybrid assisted Tiggo 8 Pro Max was tested by ANCAP in 2023, and 5 stars were given for all variants. It was given an 88% mark for adult occupant protection, 87% for children, 79% for vulnerable road users, and 86% for safety assist technology. In addition to safety, one key thing on buyers' minds these days is fuel economy, and on paper the Tiggo 8 does quite. Well, Chery says the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid will use just 1.3 liters per 100 kilometers of fuel NEDC. Closing parenthesis. Driving it from Sydney and through the Hunter Valley, which was made up of a mix of freeway and regional roads, I found the Tiggo 8 used more like 5L, 100 kilometers, and at worst 5 point for L, 100 kilometers. The claimed electric-only driving range from the 18-point for kilowatt-hours battery is a healthy 95 kilometers NEDC for the Tiggo 8. Chery says the Tiggo 8 is capable of offering 1,000 to 100 kilometers on a full tank with petrol and electric power. Combined, though, the Tiggo 8 must have 9.5 RON petrol or above. Powering the Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid is a 1.5-liter four-cylinder turbo petrol engine and a single electric motor, driving the front wheels only through a dedicated single-speed hybrid transmission. Outputs are 105 kilowatts and 215 newton meters from the engine, and 150 kilowatts and 310 newton meters from the electric motor, though not an overall combined figure. As the brand says, it's not necessarily indicative of true performance. From a standstill, it is smooth and eager enough to pull away, and doesn't have to dig deep to find more power when needed at speed, such as for a freeway overtake, for example. The 1.5-liter is also very quiet, even under heavier acceleration, which Chery says is thanks to extensive testing in an NVH lab at its facility in Wuhan, China. However, I still found there to be a lot of road noise coming up through the Continental Premium Contact C. 235 fiftieths are 19 rubber, and significant infiltration from the wind at all but low speeds. The ride is initially good, and on even surfaces isn't. Troubled, and it handles speed bumps nicely with no harsh bounce back. But it can get jittery if the road is continually uneven and it struggles to settle quickly. Sport mode makes the ride firmer, which can be jarring. But the benefit is an increased throttle response and eagerness you don't get in Echo, which is incredibly sluggish. The steering is a little light and not especially agile, but is more capable and balanced than in the Tiggo 7, which is not confidence-inspiring. The Tiggo 8 handles corners adequately and feels well-planted thanks to its heavier 1,880 per kilograms towing weight. In comparison, the Mitsubishi uses a 2.4-liter four-cylinder petrol engine combined with twin electric motors to make 185 kilowatts for 150 newton meters combined. It has an 80 per kilometers electric driving range coming from its 20 kilowatt-hours battery that's set to be upgraded in the coming months to a larger 22. 7 kilowatt-hours battery pack for a 100 kilometers all-electric figure. The Chery Tiggo 8 Super Hybrid has a good fuel economy and a healthy electric-only driving range that will easily accommodate most daily commutes. That, twinned with a sub $50,000 asking price, makes it a solid contender on the family plug-in hybrid SUV shopping list. And alongside that, it has a 7-year warranty, 7 years of capped price servicing, and 7 years of roadside assist too, as is the case with other Chery models. For a medium 7-seat SUV, it also has competitive levels of space, quality, interior for the price, and plenty of features as standard. As a result, it could be seriously competitive against the Outlander if driving manners are top of the list for buying considerations. You get a lot of kit for the extra for $1,000 in the Ultimate. But even the Urban won't disappoint for $46,000.